They say the forest up north is ancient. Not just old, but ancient in a way that trees should not be. Roots tangled like veins, bark darker than soil. No bird song, no wind, only the breath of stillness. His name was Thomas Hale, a botanist, quiet, meticulous. He didn't go there out of curiosity. He went for answers. For years, his research whispered of a plant, a species that should not exist, a flower with petals like glass, one that fed not on sunlight, but on meat. It had a name in old journals, Verum Tenebris, truth in the dark. Thomas went alone, 3 days, deep into the canopy where signals died and compasses spun. He documented spores glowing under moonlight, roots that pulsed when touched, and finally, on the 3rd night, he found it. It bloomed from a tree that looked more bone than wood, 6 petals, translucent, slick with dew that smelled faintly of iron. He didn't touch it, not yet. He only stood and stared, as something beneath the flower moved. Not wind, not an insect, but something watching. Thomas returned home, drenched, pale, changed. His partner, Elise, noticed it first. The way he stood at the door for too long, the soil under his fingernails, the hesitation when he looked at her, as if seeing her from a distance. Still, she welcomed him. Elise was a nurse, kind, grounded, with hands that healed. She asked about the forest. He lied, said he found nothing, that the flower was a myth. But that night, he placed a sealed sample jar in the back of his refrigerator and didn't sleep. The next morning, Elise complained of pain in her leg, a pulsing, itching sensation just beneath the skin, like a bruise that burned. She assumed it was nothing, a sprain, a muscle cramp. But by the 2nd night, she was limping. By the 3rd, she couldn't walk. Thomas examined her leg. His face turned cold. Beneath the skin was a movement, subtle, like something crawling. They went to the hospital. Scans were done, ultrasounds, biopsies. The doctors were baffled. There was a mass, long, thin, and twisting. Not a worm, not a cyst, not a tumor. It was alive, but it didn't respond to antibiotics. It didn't match any known parasite. It wasn't even in the bloodstream. It was inside the muscle, feeding. Thomas didn't tell Elise what he suspected, not at first. Instead, he returned to the sample jar. Inside was a larva, barely the size of a grain of rice when he found it in the soil beneath the flower. Now, it was the length of his finger. It throbbed gently, not like a heart, but like breathing. He realized what had happened. Something had followed him home. Or worse, chosen him. It had marked him and transferred itself to her. The larva was not just a parasite, it was a seed. He returned to his field notes, to the scrolls he found in that crumbling monastery in Norway, where legends spoke of a hollow root, a plant said to breed by embedding itself into living flesh. It did not bloom in soil, it bloomed in bodies, it fed on tissue, until it was strong enough to emerge. By the 6th day, Elise screamed in her sleep. Her leg had grown swollen. Black veins spiraled from the thigh downward. The skin pulsed, not with blood, but with something deeper. The doctors were helpless. They scheduled surgery, but by morning, the infection had migrated, not upwards, inwards. The MRI showed muscular decay across her lower back and hip, like something had eaten its way through, Thomas finally told her. Everything. The forest, the flower, the larva, and what he believed was happening. Elise didn't speak. She didn't cry. She only looked at him and whispered, "You brought this home." That night, she begged him to kill it. Not her, the thing inside. But Thomas wasn't ready. He still believed he could stop it. He injected sedatives, anti-parasitics. He ordered illegal antifungal agents from dark corners of the internet. But nothing worked, and the larva kept growing. On the 8th day, Elise's leg split. Not a wound, a blossom. Flesh peeled like petals. Blood oozed in rhythm. and from the open muscle, something pale and wet moved. Thomas wept. He tried to cut it out, but the moment he touched it with steel, it screamed. Not audibly, not through the air, but through his mind. It showed him the forest, the true forest. Not trees, but living towers. Not soil, but bodies turned to mulch. Not roots, but nerves. It was not a place, it was a being, and the larva was its child. Elise faded. Her memories unraveled. She spoke in tongues, names of things Thomas never told her. Latin names of extinct plants, coordinates in the Amazon, fragments of languages no one alive remembered. She was becoming something else, a vessel, and Thomas, he was changing too. His skin grew sensitive. He could hear the larva in her leg, singing, calling to him, telling him to return. On the 10th night, he burned the sample jar, but it didn't scream. It only laughed, not with a sound, but a pulse of joy, because it had never needed the jar or the lab, only her. By now, Elise's body was half gone. What remained was plant-like, roots where tendons should be, pale fibers growing from her shoulder, and in her throat, a new stem, green, thin, stretching upward like a stalk. At its tip, a bud, a flower, not yet open, but close. Thomas made his decision. He carried her, what remained of her, into the forest. She did not resist. She was light, hollow. He walked the path he once took, though it looked different now, as if the forest had watched him leave, and now welcomed him back. When he reached the place, the tree with bone bark, he stopped. The other flowers were gone. Only one bloomed now, Elise. He laid her at the base of the tree. She opened her eyes, but they were not hers. They were clear, empty, reflecting nothing. Her mouth moved, but her voice was not Elise. It was hundreds of voices, whispers and groans, the sounds of wind and soil. They said, "You are the seed bearer. You brought her to us. Now bring yourself." Thomas stepped forward. He felt the roots wrap around his ankles. He did not resist. The tree opened, not with a door, not with movement. It simply accepted him. He sank into it, flesh into bark, blood into sap, thought into silence. And inside, he heard her again. Elise, not in pain, not in fear, but whole. They say if you walk too far into the northern forest, you may see it, a tree taller than the rest, its bark pale, its base pulsing, its branches filled with glassy flowers. And sometimes, if the wind dies, you'll hear a heartbeat, two heartbeats, one human, one not, and beneath it all, a whisper, "We bloom forever." So if you walk alone in forgotten places and hear your name whispered from the trees, turn back. Not all forests grow from the earth, some grow from us, and some flowers bloom only in pain.